Previously, on Patrick Alexander's World of Content.
The Keychron C1. So what we're going to do is, we're going to put some sound-absorbing material inside this case. Shouldn't take too long. Shouldn't take too long. Shouldn't take too long. Shouldn't take too long. Shouldn't take too long.
And now, the exciting continuation.
Alright, first thing is to pop off the keycaps once again. Man, these keycaps come off really easily, actually. You can see the stabilizers, and I believe the switches too, but the stabilizers you can see came from the factory, out of the box, lubricated, and hopefully I can find a way to clean around that and give the mounting plate a bit of a dust without getting rid of that, because I have nothing to replace it with. Another good bit of design worth appreciating here is not just the model of the keyboard, but I'm assuming the version number of the PCB controller underneath there is printed in such a way that you can see it without having to take the case apart. You just have to lift up the space bar and there's all the relevant information. That's very well thought through. Now, I think I need to find 7 or 8 screws. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And screw number 9, actually, hiding there beneath this divider. I think, though, at least the accessible screws need to come out first before I can take this case apart and get inside. How have I cut my finger already? I can see maybe some sort of clips or something in the little gap there. Oops. Oh, God. Oops. Oh. God, I hope that wasn't the sound of something breaking. It's hard to tell sometimes the difference between the nice sound of a clip coming out of its clip hole and the sound of a clip completely breaking off. I think we're good. Well, some plastic did snap off, but it's the fucking plastic of the little tool here, the whatchamacallit tool, the professional edge of a credit card tool. Jesus. Well, there's always the other end. Fucking hell. Oh, damn it. I feel like I nearly had it there. Shit. Just come unclipped and stay unclipped. Get out. Come on. That's it. Aha! Come on, matey. Don't pinch me. Little prick. Ah ha 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 ha! Ho 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 ho! Luckily, I'm only seeing broken bits of blue plastic. Oh, sweet relief. Let's check the clips. Yep. Okay. Nothing broken. And here too. Yep. On the inside here as well. Okay. That all looks good. Oh, strained, but not broken. Oh, that was much harder than the YouTubers would have you believe. I spoke too soon. I don't know if you can see very well, but here, and here, there were some tiny little plastic clips, not the longer ones like this one, horizontally longer, but just little tiny ones poking up. You can see the unbroken ones at the other end, here, and here. See how they stick up there? So I think they were the same at the opposite end, and all three of these have broken off somehow. I don't know how I managed that. I think it'll be okay because there's other clips here anyway. I'm not sure how that was to be avoided. They could have made that a bit easier, but oh well. Now I want to get this plate out and access the secrets beneath. Oh! The last screw. Number 9. Okay. This should just lift right out. I shouldn't have just cut my fingernails. Ah, there we go. There's the mounting plate. I've got to watch the switch back here. Oh, wow. Just comes right out. There's the PCB with the switches mounted directly on/in it. I'll be able to pop and or pull these out later. But wow, there's the very empty bottom case right there. So we've now got this quite deep and very empty plastic case. no longer quite so solid feeling. And in here, all the emptiness under the PCB, that's where all of the resonance is going to be coming from, I imagine. So I want to fill this space, maybe not fill it completely, but I want to put something in here, in this empty space, that will absorb some of that sound. In a lot of videos where people take apart and mod the Keychron C1, for this purpose, they use the top sheet of the packing foam that came in the box for this keyboard, which is a nice, straightforward idea. I will not be using this foam. It is about 5 millimeters thick, which is quite thick. There should be enough space in there for that. But there's two reasons I don't want to use this. Number one is this keyboard is going to be a gift for someone, and so I want, for the sake of presentation, I want all of the original packaging in the box to be intact and attractive. But the second reason is that, based on my slightly experienced non-expertise, I don't think this particular foam is going to be great for sound absorption. It's not going to do nothing. It's still foam, but we do probably want something a bit denser than this. I mean, look, you can practically see through it. I tried to find some better alternatives, and I have a couple of options. This foam is also 5 millimeters thick, but as you can see, this is different foam indeed. This is dense foam, and I'm wondering if it's maybe even a bit too dense. 5 millimeters of this won't be a problem because this will squish if it's too thick. This, though, you know, it will squish, but it'll be pushing back. You know, it'll be a mutual squishing back and forth. I bought this foam ages ago for this purpose, but I'm beginning to have my doubts about it. I have another option, which is felt. Now, felt is great for sound absorption, generally speaking. This is 3 millimeters thick, which isn't as thick, but it's good, strong, dense felt. It's adhesive on the back. This will peel off, so it'll stick to the inside of the case without me needing to use any double-sided tape or anything like that, or glue. The fact that it's thick but not too thick means I'm not so worried about there not being enough room in here, particularly at the shallow end. So I just have to make my mind up now, I guess. Yeah, I'm going to try the felt. The main consideration is you can see here all of these pillars in the bottom case. Now, the tall pillars here with screw threads going down them, obviously those are where the screws that we took out are going to go back in and hold the whole thing together. Whereas these small pillars here, and you can see they're taller at the back and smaller at the front, these are what the PCB and mounting plate and switch assembly is going to rest on. So the thing to pay attention to is the very lowest of these pillars. This, I think, is too low for the big, thick 5 millimeter foam, but for the 3 millimeter felt, that should be just right, actually. So I'm feeling confident about the felt. I did have a pack of this stuff in case I needed more than one sheet, but actually I think, you know, using the excess here, I can fill this space here very easily, so I'll only need the one sheet, probably. I could even make a second layer of felt only in the back half of the case to fill the sort of extra space back there where it gets taller. Maybe, yeah, let's see how we go. For now, the thing is to get measuring and cutting. The foam is measured out. Might need to make some small adjustments as we go, but basically now we need to get the foam into the bottom of the bottom case. But of course, there's stuff in the way. We will need to make some cutouts for these raised sections here where the legs go, but that's the easy part. We can do that with scissors and measure it sort of more or less by eye. That's fine. The tricky part is all of the pillars. I need to make some holes accurately in the felt. So we've got a couple of problems. First of all, I don't have any sort of like punching tool, hole punching tool. I don't even have like a stationary hole punch at the moment. I just don't have one. I certainly don't have any like leather working equipment because I'm not Mr. Fancy Tool Man. The other problem is, of course, measuring where the holes need to go, especially on this shiny surface. So regarding the lack of a hole punching thingamagoo, I don't have a punching tool apart from this baby, but I do have not a drill, but I do have a Dremel that should be good enough to drill holes through foam. I feel like that's realistic. Regarding measuring out and marking on where the holes should go, I'm wondering what can't be accomplished with a artsy little stamp pad. You know, whoa, if I can get the lid off. Geez, when's the last time? Oh, it's taped shut. Okay. Right, so, you know, I can get some ink on top of the pillars and press these on. At best, the markings are going to be a little smudgy and smeary, but I will just drill holes that are a little bit too big, so hopefully accuracy doesn't matter too much. That's my current plan. Let's see how we go. And quick as we can. Oh geez, the pillars are all at different heights. This is going to have to be rough. The support pillars for the PCB obviously go from high to low. That's not so bad. But interfering with that are the pillars that go all the way through for the screws. Oh gosh. Well. Oh. What do you think? Remember, this is flipped. It's not too bad, but it's not terribly accurate. I do seem to have gotten all of the pillars marked at least, though. Oh, hang on. I've got to do this one still. 1, 2, and then 3. Oh, geez. I had to wobble and smush and squish the felt around so much because of the different heights. I'm thinking even if I put a really big hole in there with, lots of room for error, taken all together, I still have a bad feeling it's not gonna work. Too many inaccuracies upon inaccuracies. Well, let me think about this. Okay, bear with me. New concept. The difficulty is, in this bottom case, angling down this way, there are two invisible planes on two tiers. The higher tier is the one that's kind of invisibly resting on the higher pillars that the screws will go into, and the lower tier is the lower invisible plane represents the bottom of the PCB, and PCB and mounting plate, etc. assembly, which will be resting on those lower pillars. So what we need to do is we need to mark and drill the holes in these two steps. That'll be easier. We can drill the higher tier holes and then put the felt through, and it'll make it easier to then mark the second tier holes, because then we're dealing with just two flat planes in order, rather than this wibbly wobbly whatever's going on when we mix the two together. So we're going to do it in two steps. As for marking the holes more accurately, my new concept is this: pins and blue tack. Well, white blue tack. This stuff. Because this plane is angled, but maybe it's going to be easier for me to drill accurately or mark accurately if I can put this on horizontally, parallel to the very earth. We're going to get these pins, all of which are the same height, even though the pillars are not of the same height because this angles down. The pins are going to go into the pillars, just the screw hole pillars first. That's step one. In they go, in they go. I'm going to help the pins stay straight in their much wider shafts by putting some blue tack there to hold them in place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are now pins, all of the same height, sticking up out of the screw hole pillars. The pin heads have now created another plane which is parallel to the bottom of the case where the felt will stick, right? What happens next, hopefully, is I use some more white blue tack and I put a tiny bit of white blue tack on each of these pin heads. Then I press the cut felt back down onto that new plane and hopefully just those little bits of blue tack will transfer to the surface here, and the exact points will be accurately marked not only by the tiny bits of blue tack stuck to this surface, but also by the imprints of the pin heads in that blue tack, and that will be helpful. We'll have not pinpoint accuracy, but pin head accuracy, Hopefully. That's what I hope is going to happen. I'm just describing that for you before I do it, in case it doesn't work out, just so you know what was supposed to happen, so you're not just watching incomprehensible chaos, all right? But that's what's supposed to happen. Let's see how we do. Someone's watching this, wanting to tell me that there's a much simpler, more straightforward way. I do not doubt you. I'm sorry that I cannot hear you. Here goes. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay. Let's see. Oh, one piece of blue tack successfully transferred. Of course, all I really did was push the blue tack further down over the pinheads. Okay, let's try the Posca. Oh, yeah, what do you reckon? Do you see the little pink dots? No, you don't see shit? Yeah, me too. Me too. I'll be honest with you. The reason I got onto thinking about pins in the first place is because I had the idea that if I had a headless pin, so there was no impediment up here, what I could do is put the head, or rather the lack of head, into the screw thread holes, and then the pins would all stick up, and I could push the felt down onto that and push a pinhole through the felt, and then, you know, maybe mark the pinholes after that with Posca so that I could see them more easily. But then I thought, no, Patrick, don't do that, because inevitably you'll end up putting a pin into one of your fingertips or the palm of your hand. But now I'm sort of going back to that first idea. I'm thinking maybe that's the way forward after all. Okay, I was dangerously close to getting some pliers or wire cutters and cutting off the heads of 9 pins and sticking them in these holes and then pressing the felt down. But then I thought, you know, these headless pins stuck in those holes, they're going to be wobbling around anyway. It's not going to be particularly accurate anyway. Also, it's probably a terrible idea because I'm going to injure myself. So instead, we'll use good old masking tape. We'll peel off a little bit of masking tape. We'll turn it into a little sticky ball of masking tape. We'll rest that sticky ball. We'll rest one sticky ball each on top of each of the relevant pillars, and then we'll press this on top and hopefully piss. Come on. Oh, man. Okay, that's not gonna work either. Forget it. And also, fuck you. You little blue shit. You little blue sticky pigeon shit. Fuck you. Okay, so what I've done is I've measured the inside bottom surface of the case, which is 343 by 113 millimeters, by the way. I've photographed it from directly above. I've taken that photo into Affinity Suite and lined it up with a rectangle of the right size, so correcting for any lens distortion or whatever. I've marked in the holes that need to be cut into the felt, being careful to mark the base of the pillars in the photo, not the tops of the pillars, as accurately as I can manage. So now I've got a drilling cutting template. I've horizontally flipped that template because it's going to be stuck on the underside of the felt and then peeled off later. I've split it in two so I can print it on a single sheet of ordinary A4 paper. Ordinary just for now because we need to test if it's sufficiently accurate. So I've cut those pieces out, taped them together, then used this carving tool for making like lino prints, rubber stamps, that kind of thing, to poke some holes through the paper. Then tried laying that into the bottom of the case, and it seems like the holes are all close enough to the correct position and the rectangle is just the right size. Hooray! So now we've got to do the printing and cutting again, but this time for realsies on the adhesive paper. And as far as the cutting goes, I did mention earlier I was thinking of using a Dremel tool. I was going to get a stack of scrap cardboard, put that beneath, and then try putting the felt on top and drilling through. But this is the most powerful rotary tool I have. It's not a proper drill, and more to the point, I don't have real drill bits. These are the biggest, thickest drill bits that I have, and they are not big enough for the holes that I want to cut. So I'm thinking it is going to be easier and safer to just use the retractable knife as usual to cut holes in the felt, just little by little, patiently. I think that'll be fine. Bits of sticky paper are always handy to have. Okay. Well, close enough. Let's trim these edges here off. Wow, this cutting board is getting ruined by the felt. These holes are so close to the edge that I think I'll just cut them all the way out to the edge. And these two big slices for the feet, I think I'll do them last so that the rectangle stays as stable as possible until the end. Well, oh dear. That's going to keep happening, isn't it? Yeah. Oh dear. Dear, dear, dear. Well, can I push just that little square out? Oh, yes I can. That's better than I was worried it would be for a moment there. Okay, I think we'll be okay.
Get out of it. Get out of it. Get out of it. There you go. Good dog.
I'm beginning to wonder if that thicker, very dense foam mightn't have been a better choice, only because I'm worried about all of these tiny felt fibers. I'm worried about them messing up the inside of the keyboard over time, but I think once I put the felt in there, if I give it a good, gentle vacuuming before closing the case up, I think it'll be fine, because normally the felt is very strong and stable. It's only when I come at it with a blade that the little particles start flying everywhere. So once I'm done with it, I think it'll be okay. Now, before we expose the adhesive, we have an opportunity to safely test whether this fits in the case as it should. Oh. Beautiful. Beautiful. That is closer to perfect than I think anyone expected. Well done, me. And the assembly too. Why not? Yep. That... Oh, hang on.
Hello, you're now hearing the voice of Editing Patrick. At the risk of disappointing any enjoyers of felt cutting ASMR, I'm going to summarise this next ordeal to save us a bit of time. What's happened is, at the front edge of the case, the metal mounting plate is not resting flush with the plastic case, as it should be. The felt is no higher than the lowest columns at that end, so the underside of the PCB should be resting nicely on those columns. So I thought. But what I overlooked is the various electronic-y whatsits in the PCB that extend further down than the PCB itself. What a colossal and humiliating blunder. The solution seemed to be to trim 1 centimetre of felt from that edge, which I did. It wasn't enough. So I trimmed another 5 millimetres. Still, the metal mounting plate would not rest flush. So I trimmed yet another 5 millimetres. And, fudging huckleberries, it still wasn't flush. But it was very close and required only the gentlest squoosh to become so I decided it was safe to leave it there. Having to trim away so many of those holes I'd gone to such effort to measure and cut was not the most satisfying experience of my life. But as they say, you've got to kill your babies. Or is it kill your darlings? Well, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I'm telling you, kill your babies. Do you have a baby? I want you to kill that baby. Go and kill your baby now.
I was thinking of adding maybe an extra layer of felt just in the back half here maybe. But before I do any measuring and cutting, I've got these little cutouts from the legs. I'll just place these here. Yeah, I reckon we can put some felt along the back half. Will I cut out little bits of felt and do it bit by bit, or will I cut out a long strip and do all that measuring and cutting again? Well, whatever I decide to do, I'll do it off camera to spare you, so then we can see how that works out and move along to the next bit. And that is done. I ended up doing a bit of both, using some scrap pieces as well as some bigger pieces and measuring and cutting holes in them. And as you can see, I've added not only the second tier along the back half, but a third tier right along the back edge. So you can see this kind of stepped arrangement there, filling in the space fairly nicely. If I put the assembly in, it sits well. There'll need to be a little bit of pressure on it, but the screws will do that just fine. You'll notice I've also added some material along the bottom here, as well as here and here. This is actually wallpaper. You can buy this in small sheets or even big rolls. It's wallpaper with peel-off adhesive surface on the back. In Japanese homes and apartments, wallpapers come in a very small variety of variations of basically this, just some sort of textured off-white pattern. I thought even if it's negligible to the point of being effectively zero, my instinct was that a tiny bit of texture here might do something to, if not absorb the sound, because there's no real substance to it, but it might do at least a tiny, tiny little bit to diffuse the reflected sound. Anyway, this step is done. I declare it done.
Editing Patrick here again. So while I was adding those extra pieces of felt, I finally hit upon an easy method of measuring where the holes should go that would be pretty accurate and far less rigmarolic than all of that shit with the aerial photograph and digital editing and so on. And even though I no longer needed such a method for this project, I wanted to explain and demonstrate it anyway, and evidently spent over an hour doing just that. It's not that I don't have more important things to do with my time, but do you know what else I have? That's right, mental problems. Anyway, let's pretend we're starting over and that this rectangular piece of card is actually a fresh piece of felt, and these coloured ballpoint pens are actually Poscas. The idea is, we would line the felt up with the inside of the case, then drag it horizontally, and every time a column appears at the edge as we do so, we would mark its position on the vertical axis. We'll do the big columns first. Then we do the same again, but dragging vertically and marking the positions along the horizontal axis. Now with a bit of ruling, well, a ruler and a good eye, let's say. The full-on ruling I'm doing here is more to demonstrate the principle. It isn't necessary and wouldn't be practical with Poscas on felt anyway. The point is, where the lines intersect, we can find and accurately mark the location of our future holes. Now do the same again for the smaller columns. Now cut the holes. And, well, I'll excuse myself now and hand you back over to filming Patrick. or blithering Patrick, as I often like to call him.
Okay, so if this were the felt, and if this case were still empty, I could then just pop that in there, and all the holes should more or less line up. And I think we've done okay. I'd have to make an adjustment here, a big one there. The felt itself is flexible, of course, but for the most part, that's come out accurate enough, plenty accurate. So there you go. That would be one time-saving method. However, if this were not the felt, if this were just, as you can see, paper, you could put it in there, make any adjustments you need to, and then put this paper template on a piece of felt and use a Posca or two different colors of Posca for the different hole sizes to mark the holes through the paper template and then cut the felt.
An advantage of a template would be its reusability, especially if you wanted to cut multiple layers of felt, as I did.
And furthermore, having now thought of this idea indirectly of having the paper template, I realize that the easiest, most time-savingest method of all that I definitely should have done to begin with would have been to just get an ordinary thin, a correctly measured strip of plain paper and simply place that in the empty tray here and push down around all of these pillars and pop holes through the paper, just through force like that. Again, make any adjustments you need that way. Just put the paper on, push the pillars through, and bam, there's your paper template, which again, you could then put on the correctly measured felt and mark through. That is definitely what I should have done many hours ago, but that's often how it is, isn't it, with the time-saving method. It can take hours and hours and lots of trial and error to figure out the most efficient, time-saving method, and then you've got that knowledge which you will probably never use again for the rest of your life. But just in case it's useful for you, I thought I should include it in the video so that now you know. And you've seen all my mistakes, so now you know why the best method is the best method. You think you got an even better method? By all means, I welcome your post facto input. Oh, and one more tip I wanted to mention. As I was putting these back tiers of felt in off camera, I did confirm for myself that when cutting felt, scissors are by far preferable to a Stanley knife. This, as you witnessed, will make felt particles, a sandstorm, well, a felt storm of particles fly everywhere and mess up your desk and get into crannies, you know, the crannies all around. Whereas the scissors, using the inside part of the scissors, if you cut felt with the scissors, you don't really get any of that felty mess. It's, nice and neat and tidy. So sometimes for this kind of thing, you would have to use the knife instead, but a lot of the time you could get away with using the scissors, and so if you can, you should.
Next time, Imperial Games, etc.
We're going to change the switches. Let's have a look.
How did I manage to do this again?
A whole new keycap set.
Uncle Carl, you're plum crackers. Anything else I can get you?